Welcome to another episode of the Justice Podcast. Um, it's just going to be me and Tops again. Everyone else is currently busy, but hopefully you guys enjoyed your Thanksgiving if you're American, and if otherwise, aside from that stuff, hope you're excited for the tease that Zack Snyder made regarding Final Crisis.
What up? I am but I'm not sure yet if that will be a thing. But let's go.
In the meantime, we got three things to talk about. The first Doctor Strange movie, as well as the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movies that he produced, and the first two Smash Brothers games in existence. Now, as always, we go left to right, but you might be wondering, why Doctor Strange? Why not review Shang-Chi, or The Eternals, or No Way Home? And we'll see about No Way Home, but, or how about, did Black Widow even come out this year, or was it last year?
I don't know, Black Widow, for example. I don't.
Well, I'm gonna just say this right off the bat, I miss when MCU used to have, two movies per year. Um, by that point, the more movies they put out, the more close together they were, and it just felt pretty worthless, if you ask me.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah, Marvel has been underwhelming. Is that what we were talking about? Because honestly, we're more of a retro kind of channel. We like to look back on things. So if you want a recent and fresh opinion on stuff, we won't usually give them.
yeah,
We like to like get a gap of space of time between our thoughts and whatever we're talking about.
yeah. We usually mash up both aspects,
Yeah, balance.
but in the case of the MCU, I'm honest when I say that I kind of miss when we used to have fewer films per year because four MCU movies is far too many. Like one of them was fine enough for the time. Two is perfectly good. Three maybe, depending on who's behind it. Like 2018 had three MCU films. You could say four and five because of Sony, but at least those are Sony produced, not like Marvel Studios produced.
Yeah, but still, this year it's four movies. I am tired. I am overwhelmed by Marvel. I don't want to see anything. Look, I even tried lately to watch Shang-Chi and Black Widow. Couldn't go through it.
And that's why I wanted to bring up Doctor Strange. Well, apart from it turning five this year. So, what are your thoughts on that movie specifically?
Yeah, so I went to watch Doctor Strange back in 2016 all by myself. It was the first time I went all alone to a cinema, and I actually really enjoyed it because it was just me and all those cool visuals. And back then, I recently watched Sherlock, the TV show. So I was basically very happy that Benedict Cumberbatch was going to be Doctor Strange, and I had a blast. But I don't know if that movie feels that of a heavyweight um, nowadays, but I still think that it is a very enjoyable one. I don't know what you think of that.
Well, at the time, I was pretty much done with the MCU because after the bullshit we had to deal with Civil War, the way the MCU fans were being a pain in the ass, the way they shut on Batman v Superman and Suicide
Mm,
Squad before we found out about how compromised that film was, like we pretty much I pretty much didn't want to do anything with the MCU. Like it wasn't until I saw Film Glab where I was more invested in the anti-MCU approach. Since then, after stuff like the Warner Brothers shenanigans of them being fucking idiots and the MCU being paused in 2020, I thought about revisiting some stuff, and I thought that Doctor Strange itself wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. Not 100% perfect of a movie, but I'd say it's a better MCU film compared to Civil War.
it feels much more consistent, and more of a movie than Civil War, because Civil War ended up being a tiny chapter that was just insignificant but had a lot of characters.
Yeah, basically the sort of example of quantity versus quality,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
and also the proof of just how hypocritical Cape Shit viewers were when it comes to like them going after Batman v Superman, but then praising that film, Civil War. But Strange itself is just like a better, like a more solid movie experience because it definitely felt like it was made by somebody that wanted to make a movie, not just a product.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember back then when when I compared the critics between Batman v Superman and Civil War, I was like, well, I get it. You people are subjective, of course, but you can't all be subjective towards this a same thing. Like there should be a more diverse type of opinions, and it was just all criticizing Batman v Superman for this, and Civil War basically did the same, or it did it even worse if you rule yourself by that lecture. And I was just blown blown away by it and so frustrated. But now I am happy because we have Zack Snyder Justice League, and that's all in the past. Doctor Strange was a good movie by its own. You could actually go and watch that movie without thinking, oh, what happened before? Oh, what will happen later? No, it was actually a superhero movie that did what it had to do, and that was it.
Yeah, and I also did appreciate the sort of like the sort of chemistry it had between um, like the characters in it because they were a little more, even though they had a sort of like typical base MCU formula. And I will admit that that Strange's character might be like a magic version of Tony Stark's character, but without any of
Yeah,
like the narcissism that Tony Stark is known for, and the Robert Downey
mhm,
Juniorisms that the character obtained since 2008. But
yeah.
like at least it manages to try and stand out compared to another flavor of the week movie. Like anyone remember Ant Man?
Uh, you just reminded me of that. Uh, it was also enjoyable. It's just forgettable.
Yeah, it just felt like a throwaway movie at this point. I mean, the suit design was cool, but I think Doctor Strange manages to be a more of an enjoyable movie because it wasn't just filler for the MCU.
Yeah, it felt like it wanted to communicate to the audience the character of Doctor Strange, and that was just enough because sometimes it feels like the characters are offering themselves for the plot and not the plot, let's say, acting upon the character, and the character has to show its qualities and also their weaknesses. And Marvel kind of lost that idea a while ago. I could still see some of that in Doctor Strange, but I don't know what I can say about current movies.
Yeah, admittedly, like Strange itself might have been best remembered apart from like the typical MCU approach for the fact that one of the characters was like altered to appeal to the Chinese audiences.
Yeah, Wong.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I remember that people were pissed off because um, what was her name? Well, she
the
was
actress was like
basically
whitewashed.
yeah, she was whitewashed basically, and yeah, that was a fair criticism. I don't know why they struggled to just cast someone that respected that ethnicity.
Because
Um,
like I said, China, like they want to try and get that Chinese money since they help contribute to the box office.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's always some controversy between those cultures and religions, so they try not to get their hands dirty, but they end up like boosting a lot of discrimination and racism. But that's basic Disney, all in all history. So why should they care now? They just make a pseudo inclusive shit, and people are clapping, but nothing in the world gets better. So
Pretty much every sort of like presidential election in a nutshell. But no,
mhm,
seriously, like that is something that kind of frustrates me with Disney is that they try to go like for this sort of diversity approach, which I mean, do what you want, but like they either have to make it seem like, oh, we're gonna like bash the white people when it's gonna make them look like immature children, and they're gonna be like, oh, guys, like, oh, don't worry, we respect you all, despite them like clearly being known for erasing people of color from a poster to appeal to China, and of course, the big no-nos when they use the word Latinx.
yeah.
But yeah, back to Doctor
So
Strange.
yeah, back to Doctor Strange. We got out track there, but it is also a very interesting topic. Either way, what was your experience first time you watched Doctor Strange? Because I explained mine particularly.
Well, after the MCU rewatch, or like not the rewatch per se, after like the MCU break that happened in the pandemic, first thing that came to mind was this feels like a mix between Batman Begins and Iron Man. Like
Ah,
he had like the sort of characteristics that are similar to that of Tony Stark within for Benedict Cumberbatch, and
yeah,
you also have like the similar like well-known like individual going to another part of the world to train, which is kind of like one of the big plot points of Batman Begins when Bruce Wayne went to
yeah,
Ra's al Ghul's temple.
yeah, yeah. It kind of felt like that. It felt like a homage. Yeah.
Yeah, so long before like all the stuff about Zack Snyder's a blueprint, we had stuff like Christopher Nolan's a blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Nolan would be more likely best known to say something like Cape Shit was a mistake. I mean, he's not wrong if he ever does say that.
Oh yeah, Nolan. Um, Nolan has its shit, his own shit to deal with now.
Yep. But apart from all that, like some of the humor was like typical. There were a few jokes that I did like, but I was just happy that it wasn't quite flavor of the week. Yeah, some of the other stuff.
No, true. Yeah, that's true. Because yeah, of course, we were starting to get off those like into that trend where the Marvel movies had as their weak points the comedy. We can agree on that because ever since Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a funny movie, they just kept on and giving you humor, and they tried to recreate those funny moments, and they are just unnecessary at times. They don't contribute at all to the story. What's the point of it? We don't know. That is kind of what we felt back then, and now it increased by a lot. But aside from those weak points again, the movie tells a very solid story that goes from point A to point B and nothing more. It has a villain that it is forgettable, let's admit it,
Yeah,
but it looks cool. And yeah, you have charismatic charismatic characters and that became important later on for the universe. And well, third act that could have been better, but I mean the Dormammu scene, that is still very iconic. I don't know what you
with
think
him
about it.
singing that
Dormammu,
he's here for a bargain.
yeah, that one.
I mean, like it's just the wording of it that makes it work. Like it's not like Doctor Strange just said something dumb like "ooh woo" or something like that. If it's with the character,
Wonder Mamu.
Oh my god, what was I? What have I done? But you know what I mean. Like, it fits well with the character. It's not like he just suddenly said, like, blurted out something stupid. And like the bargain line made sense for um Strange himself.
Yeah, it was logical wordplay. I don't know if it's a wordplay, but kind of like the repetitive thing of coming back and saying the same thing and driving Dormammu crazy. It was cool. It was like um, I don't know, just seeing a mortal uh, controlling and driving like a species of god. I don't know how you can call it. Driving it crazy. It was like very fun, but at the same time epic. You see, when you combine fun and epic, you get those type of iconic scenes that you still meme about, and yeah.
And I think part of the reason why is because um like the screenplay began early on in the MCU's life as one of the potential projects that would pop up. Now I'm not sure how much of it has changed. I know that there's apparently a rewrite for the script, but I think that sort of explains why it hasn't gotten like the same sort of like tonal compromises that the other films had.
Hmm.
Like every film of the MCU since the first Avengers movie has had tried is either try to be like the similar tone, or at the very least, it ends up becoming pretty forgettable. And
Yeah.
to the credit of the first Doctor Strange movie, they did a decent job of making sure it was not like that. They at least kept the tone that I think was kept from the screenplay since 2010, in spite of the rewrites.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
One other thing worth mentioning about Doctor Strange is that apart from his appearances in the MCU, Infinity War, and Endgame, all that stuff, what can be said about what we can expect from him in the future? Like we know he's coming up in No Way Home, which makes sense because I do believe that Spider-Man and Doctor Strange have teamed up, and we're getting a sequel for him.
Yeah, we have a sequel that it's on Sam Raimi's hands. What about that?
I'm like hopeful that it turns out to be an even better film, but we got to keep in mind that Scott Derrickson stepped down for the project because of like the disagreements he had with Kevin Feige on creative differences, as they call it. But really, it's just like Scott Derrickson wants to like, go above and beyond.
Yeah, they water down what they try to tell us a story just for financial purposes always, but it's not the financial purposes that you say, yeah, we have to do this because otherwise it is failure. No, they just want to secure a certain amount of money or a certain type of success.
And considering how that turned out with like the Eternals, I feel bad for anyone that wants to go a little above and beyond because I've not seen the Eternals movie. I don't think I want to is anytime soon, but I do have to admit that the director at least was interested in not just making your average like 30,000 Marvel film. They wanted to make something that'd be a little more um like unique.
Yeah,
It's just kind of a shame
it
that
was
like
really
the
good.
MCU fan
Yeah.
base is just as hateful towards it as much as the critics are. Although you do have people like, nah, I'll never forgive anyone for trashing this movie, and if you disagree with me, well, you are a meanie head, and I'm telling the teacher on you.
Hmm.
Bird app drama in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's just
Uh,
go on.
yeah. I don't know what we can say about Doctor Strange. I like a lot. the beginning and the end. Maybe the between in between is sometimes tedious because I don't remember too many memorable stuff. But I like a lot is a romantic storyline. I like how he gets into the accident and then he needs to regroup his own shit in order to keep on living on his way, his path, and and then the end he just is Doctor Strange and it's badass.
Yep. Um, I don't know what we'll expect from him in like the sequel, but hopefully they can do the best film they can possible, and from there we'll see what we can get from a Doctor Strange 3. It's kind of a surprise thing that we just get that so late into the series, while um,
Yeah,
like Ant Man gets his own trilogy
we will
announced.
get we will get an Ant-Man trilogy before a Doctor Strange trilogy. And I mean, I like Ant-Man, but not specifically the MCU's version for it to be a trilogy.
I mean, like the suit design's cool, and Paul Rudd's a cool actor, but at the same time, like his character isn't like that's interesting if you ask me. I think
Mm,
the script that they were intending for him from what's the director's name again? I feel bad for forgetting his name.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Yeah, his script would have been much more like unique.
Yeah.
But alas,
Besides, if he had been the director, I think that the movie would have looked so dynamic and so fucking cool. I don't know if you've seen Edgar Wright's movies, but he just has a capacity of making a very I don't know how to describe it, like fast paced
yeah, it would
and
have had
with
like a spirit of its own.
angle. Yeah, he's a director of his own. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get that anymore. It seems.
No.
But at least they did not erase the past stuff.
Yeah, true.
Apart from all that, let's go on to the Ninja Turtles movies that were produced by Michael Bay.
Yeah. Wait, they were only produced? Wasn't the first one at least directed by Michael Bay?
Someone else directed it, but because Bay is a bigger name than the other guy, they went with. Most people like used his name for the publicity. I mean, like the guy himself,
Mm.
even before Transformers was a big name, so like makes sense, I guess.
So what do you think about those two Teenage Ninja Turtles movies?
Well, I'm gonna say this right off the bat. I'm a casual Ninja Turtles fan. Um, like I do like the series, I like the characters, but not to the same extent as I do like Transformers, Power Rangers, DC, Marvel, and Star Wars. It's like if I were to rank the specific franchises like by like how close I am to them by tiers, that'd probably be in either like an A tier if there was an S tier or a B tier because
Uh,
like it makes you want to learn more about the stuff. Like it feels like a series I should learn about more, even though I kind of like say, oh, it's a cool series. But the movies themselves, I think, are perfectly fine for what they are. Um, Mainly because I
yeah.
never grew up with the original films, and I was like exposed to stuff like the 2003 series from 4Kids, as well as the 2007 animated movie, and eventually I saw the 2012 series on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that series on Nickelodeon was actually cool. Kind of basic on its humor at times, but it had a plot.
Yeah, next year we'll review it for a retrospective, since like It did end within the end of the 2010s,
Yeah.
but
Now there's a new show, right? On
yeah,
TMNT.
Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I've seen some, but not much of it. It just feels kind of like an online series that has kind of like that sort of style to it that's more basic and not quite as significant.
Mm.
But apart from all that, like the two movies themselves are just like they're like people I think hate them too much just because they have like a nostalgic attachment to them. In fact, I'd say that they hate those films more than they do the Bayverse because like Transformers fans at least have like a various generations of fans that like different things, and it's easier to call it a G1er than it is a Ninja Turtles purist. But
Yeah.
the problem is that Ninja Turtles' fan base, like even if you had fans that grew up with like the 2003 show, you're more than likely still going to have like tons of fans that only know the '80s series, which does get better over time. Not that the original stuff was like bad, but like the series itself does improve more and more story wise and tone wise. And you have like the '90s movies, which classic as they are, I think are like your typical kids property tie-in to a big movie, kind of like the MMPR movie from the '90s, except a little bit better because it's not based on a specific version; it's just its own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like seeing the other movies themselves made me realize the fact that like I was much more willing to accept these versions of the Turtles from 2014, and I think they turned out perfectly fine. Uh, I think the designs themselves are like what got people really upset because they're definitely a lot more realistic, but while they're kind of ugly looking, I don't really expect the turtles to look um, like any cutesy in real life. But at least they capture that sort of mutant spirit to them.
What? Yeah. What was people expecting back then? Because they looked funny. They could look adorable and they look badass. What more do you want? The people behind the special effects actually did a great job, to be honest.
Yeah,
And their movies are on point most of the times.
like
You can recognize one from the other. People always say that no, the four of them look the same, and I don't agree.
yeah, like they have their bandana colors, their weapons, and their mannerisms
Yeah,
too. Like you have the obviously cool-headed one, and Leonardo, the aggressive Raphael, the nerdy Donatello, and the party-goer Michelangelo.
yeah, peace lover.
Like people probably assume that their characters would be like entirely different, like they are with Transformers. But keep in mind, Transformers itself, in general, has had different characterizations for specific individuals in their different universes. Like, uh, like as someone that's more experienced, I know for a fact that like Wheeljack in Generation One is different from the Wheeljack in Armada and the one from the live action film series. Even a similar looking Wheeljack from Transformers Prime, it looks like his G1 self, acts differently from him. He's more of like a samurai cowboy who's also a mechanic, not a scientist, inventor guy.
Yeah,
But Ninja Turtles, since it's more or less like the same, but with different aesthetics and different tones in each incarnation, I think they did a great job of making sure that the characters were consistent with everything else. Meaning, it wouldn't make sense
really.
for like Raphael to be um, the serious one, like a very Shakespearean one, because those like they never changed up the characters as much as they would in Transformers.
Yeah, Raphael was always the most interesting character because of all that he could possibly do and um, like what he could cause and the group and his reactions, it was just very genuine, and at times it would make good plot points that I enjoyed. But that is historically. In the movie, he also has sometimes where you can see that he actually has an arc aside from his aggressiveness. And yeah, he's cool. I also like Leo. Mikey is funny as fuck, and Johnny is like, yeah,
Yeah, always good to have him.
yep.
Now, if there's one thing I can agree on when it comes to the casting choices, I would say that Megan Fox as April O'Neil is weird, honestly. You know,
Yeah.
like, okay, her in Transformers makes sense. Transformers never has the same human characters. They always change them up. That's fine. April O'Neil's casting her as April O'Neil is just like weird because like even though April O'Neil you could say definitely gets drawn a lot for like her the more lewd drawings, especially since like they usually depict her as a busty woman that the turtles have a thing for in some fan art. She doesn't really look like the kind of rebellious girl. She generally looks more happy-go-lucky, and Megan Fox doesn't really look like a happy-go-lucky character who just so happens to be busty and wear a yellow um, banana raincoat suit.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. I didn't share that casting decision.
like, I'm not against it, but it's not a casting I agree with either because just because of the way I expect a character to be. I mean, like, I think nerds being nerds would probably like lose their shit over it, break a pelvis bone about it. But I'm just like head scratching myself because, um, like just seeing the character of Michaela Baines suddenly cosplay as Meg as like April O'Neil just seems kind of weird. Like it would be kind of funny if Michaela Baines in some sort of like tie-in Transformers movie show would say something like, "Oh, I want to cosplay as this character," and Sam Wiki would say, "No, it doesn't quite fit you, but okay."
Hmm.
Like it's just strange. I mean, her character is more or less the same as we would expect, but yeah, she's like the one thing I don't quite like as much about the movies. Now then, Shredder. Uh, I think people definitely went overboard with the design of Shredder because, like,
Yeah.
people were like, "Why is that Shredder doesn't look like that? He's supposed to look like a human being with his arms exposed and like some sort of samurai helmet underneath him." But like, classic Shredder is classic Shredder, but honestly, I think he's kind of like okay, he's good at martial arts, but he sounds kind of funny when he talks. Definitely has a Saturday morning cartoon feel to him. Now, I know that 2003 Shredder has a more embarrassing like secret, the fact that he's just an alien who wears a mech suit. But I'm gonna be honest, I like the design way more. I mean,
Yeah.
it's intimidating, it's big, it's got lots of weapons to him. He looks like a massive threat, whereas the 80s Shredder looks more like Shredder if he was like a human version of his foot soldiers to some extent. Not shitting on him, like I don't hate him, and I'm not like someone that's gonna be like that's gonna grab a poster of the '80s Shredder and burn it because he's cool. But I just prefer the more like 2003 inspired look, and I think they did a pretty decent job. Admittedly, it does look kind of like a rejected design for Megatron in the first movie because you ever saw the concept art for the first Transformers movie when they just like were figuring out how to make a new interpretation for these characters?
Yeah.
They went through a lot of revisions, especially with Megatron. Like there was a version of him that looked really funny because of just how weird it looked with it trying to make like a movie style version of his classic face. And then there's one where he had like the final body, but his head had Starscream's face on it, which just looked ridiculous. It looked more like Starscream's wet dream of being leader.
Oh,
But yeah, I like Shredder's design. I think it was toned down in the sequel because of the complaints. I mean, then again, the second film was like a reaction to the complaints that fans had because apparently Ninja
Yeah.
Turtles fans only exist in the 1980s, and no, definitely there ain't no like younger fans that did like the first movie. But
No, I, I mean, I think the first one is better.
pretty
The
much
second one felt, um, how can I say it?
reactionary.
Empty. Just totally empty as a movie. I don't remember any scene that
Yeah,
actually hit me at any way.
we'll get to that in a
I
bit.
the rhinos were fine, but
You mean
just
Cowboy Bebop and Rocksteady? I said Cowboy
yeah,
Bebop. Oh my god,
Cowboy Bebop
like
and Rocksteady.
the negativity towards that Netflix adaptation just made me think about it. I promised Lunar Archivist I'm going to review the original anime instead of the reboot.
Dude, you have no idea what they did in my country with Cowboy Bebop, this live action series, because they made a voice acting with the Spanish of my region for that specific show, and it sounds so fucking funny. It's like it would be the only reason why I would watch it, just to laugh, and laugh at how bad it sounds.
Oh boy, maybe that'll be a story for another day. But yeah,
Yeah.
like Bebop and Rocksteady are definitely two of the famous duos of Ninja Turtles lore. I mean, like if it's not Shredder, then it's got to be those two you got to include, and I think they're perfectly fine. But part of me feels more like they were included just for the sake of making, or like at least the way they were used in the movie felt more like it just out of the shadows being more of a sort of reaction to the negativity that the first movie got from hardcore fans, aka the '80s babies.
Yeah, yeah.
Because yeah, like the second film definitely felt more fan servicey. But before we get into that, let's talk about Splinter. Master Splinter, I think, is just great. Um, I know people probably want him to look more like a cutesy looking rat, but let's be real here. Like, unless you want to make him look like a fursuit that you'd see at an anime convention, a realistic looking rat is the way to go. And the design itself worked well. I mean, I don't remember as much to do with the turtles themselves because there's a lot more personality in the turtles. But
Hmm.
Splinter himself is just like perfect the way he is.
Yeah, I like him. He looked wise and old. I didn't like too much that scene where he pretends to die.
Yeah, save it for another film. Ironically, we're gonna get
Yeah,
people being like, "Ah, why'd you say that about? Why'd you go against like people commenting on this character dying for this movie? Like, whatever." But
yeah.
yeah, like
The
that was just stupid
Master
cheap.
Splinter is cool as fuck. Um, but dude, I think those movies kind of had the charm that it needed at a time, and it could have been much more. It is unfortunate that after so many years, we haven't had like one decent live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that you could actually mention it and be proud of it. Again, I love the first movie as its own because I don't know, just that one scene with the MC like keep on
Yeah,
keep
that
and
one's perfect. Like, I think that's the movie I like the most because like I don't have a direct attachment to any incarnation of the Turtles apart from the 2003 series because that to me is my definitive Ninja Turtles. But
yeah.
like the old movies, honestly, sure they're iconic, but at the same time, um, like they're just as iconic as they are good at holding up. I mean, the costumes themselves, I think, are perfectly fine, but I don't think we're gonna get any like suits unless you want to go really nostalgic, J.J. Abrams style practical effects. But I will say that the designs they used for like a commercial. that was in the UK where Donatello was like trying to stop some sort of plumbing problem or something. The designs they use are more based on the traditional Ninja Turtles look, but I think it did a pretty good job of looking like that. Although it kind of reminds me of it kind of like gave me like flashbacks of being cringed or cringing at the design reveals of the robots in the Bumblebee movie.
Yeah,
Blech. But yeah, like the first movie itself is like not a perfect movie. Um, it's like it's I don't know how to say this. Like I don't hate it, but I'm not like a super big fan of it. I just enjoy it for what it is.
yeah,
Uh, but it does like feel like a lesser tier of a movie compared to like the first Transformers movie because there's so much more that I like about that one. Even setting aside my preference towards Transformers, it's just like a more unique cast, more unique setting, more memorable story, crazy battles that happen. It's just like so many great things about it. Even to this day, no matter what fat fuck G1er tries to say otherwise.
yeah. Dude, one thing I never understood was why is Will Arnett in those two movies?
Oh yeah, the Lego Batman guy.
Yeah, and the BoJack Horseman guy. I love Will Arnett. He's fucking amazing. He's a great professional. But why the fuck is he in that movie like being the romantic interest? Why? Why?
Was he though? I mean, I know the sequel had Casey Jones in it.
Yeah,
Uh, but like I think he did like a perfectly fine job of just being who he was. Um,
yeah,
but it's just like I think it's just like them looking for a big name actor that isn't quite obvious. I will say though, I was surprised that they brought in Stephen, the guy that played the Green Arrow from the Arrowverse, as Casey Jones. Like that was a surprise.
yeah. Stephen Amell.
Um,
Yeah.
Either
Well,
way, like
I always liked Casey. Wait. Um, do you remember Ben 10 Alien Force?
kind of. It's been a while since I saw anything regarding the Ben 10.
But do you remember Ben 10 Alien Force
Kind of, like I said.
or Ultimate Alien?
Yeah, go on.
Well, anyways, sometimes I get the vibes that Casey Jones and April are the same fucking characters as Kevin Levin and Gwen
Oh,
from
interesting.
Ben 10. Yeah, I sometimes feel like they are the same fucking characters. I don't know why.
And I think you could say that Ben 10 himself could be any of the four turtles split in four.
Yeah.
That's a funny matchup, though. Although we have to keep in mind that the turtles have an attraction towards April O'Neil, and meanwhile, like both Ben 10 as well as Gwen are relatives. So,
Oh,
fan artists, get your hands away from them. And as for your sticker people,
dude,
you guys have made the stickers.
dude, I've seen so many fucked up shit about that.
No! Oh my god. Oh,
There's actually
sweet
people
home
that
Alabama.
like there's actually people that like that incest relationship, and I'm disgusted. There are even pictures. I don't know. Anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
now I don't want to do that comparison ever again in my fucking life. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, anyways, moving on before I wanted to get my G1 Megatron to blow my brains out. YouTube, please don't demonetize this. Wait, I'm not even monetized. What the fuck am I saying? Anyways,
Dude, we
okay.
don't win any money with this. We just let's just
Susan.
say whatever the fuck we want. It doesn't matter at
All right.
this point.
Boobies.
Movies.
Okay, but on a more serious note, like these turtles, these turtles movies are like, Ninja Turtles movies are perfectly fine for what they are. Like, I'm not like a
Yeah.
super big fan of them because I'm not as big of a Ninja Turtles fan, though I should be one at some point. But at the same time, I don't
Hmm.
hate them like a lot of the '80s babies were, especially
Yeah.
since like I will say that the sequel definitely felt more reactionary. It's like them saying, "Okay, how do we win over the people that hated the first movie? Well, let's make it more like the classic stuff. Here's the Turtle Van. Um, here is like Bebop and Rocksteady, which is fine and all. Like, but at
Yeah.
the same time, it made the movie feel kind of shallow, as you mentioned.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, well, there's also like Krang in there too. Is that his name? Krang?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is
Think
Krang.
so.
The alien, the pink alien that
Yeah.
pilots
Yeah.
a mech, like a He-Man looking mech suit. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
But again, like
Yeah.
people remember that stuff more than they do the actual movie itself. And
True.
I'm sensing a pattern with Paramount released films based on classic properties, where the more divisive, quote unquote, and unique stuff ends up being more memorable, whereas the so-called like more faithful, more fan-friendly film stuff, like Out of the Shadows and Bumblebee, ends up being shallow and forgettable. All because they try to appeal to a demographic that was never grateful for them in the first place.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I do like the first movie perfectly
So
fine.
yeah, man, they are rewatchable. Maybe not admirable, but they have its condiments. And I don't know if we can talk much about it anymore because I would rather like talk historically about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in another episode, maybe
Yeah,
because
one day
it sort
we'll
of deserved
yeah
some descriptions.
yeah we gotta review the 2007 movie next year since it turns like 15.
Oh
I want
yeah,
I want to review the original animated series and the 2003 series. Oh, the 2012 series too. Like
dude.
I just saw I rewatched the trailer where they had like Mutant Shredder in it, and I'm like, bro, they use the same sort of like trailer music that was used for Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, and I think Aquaman. Two Steps from Hell, None Shall Stand is a great trailer song, and I'm surprised that it even worked so well with like a kitty yet still cool Ninja Turtle show.
Yeah.
But all right, that's enough of the turtle stuff. Let's go talk about Smash Brothers.
Smash Bros. No, when we say Smash Brothers, we don't mean go and smash your brothers. We're talking about the video games.
And yeah, like Super Smash Bros. Itself is a series that I think nowadays has quite a lot of notoriety amongst the gaming community for good reason too, at some extent. Especially its players. Like, what are its players known for? Like, not your average Smash Brothers fan that just picks up a copy and plays it in their house and enjoys the game. I'm talking about like the bigger Smash Brothers community, especially its like gamers that just go to a convention. Like, what are they notorious for?
Um, the multiplayer.
All right, I'll give one example. Um,
Hmm.
they're known to cause drama when they like rage quit over losing. I mean, you ever see those compilation videos of them like smashing their controllers?
Yeah, Tom.
They're also known for like getting in arguments with other players, especially as we've seen like the cringe Smash player compilation videos. And I think the thing that sort of like put the nail in the coffin was last year when we found out that a lot of Smash players were revealed to have been um, like child groomers.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, that was like a shocking moment. I mean, 2020 itself has been a shitty ass year with a lot of like
Mhm.
dumbasses and fucked up shit that was happening. But like I'm surprised at just how many, like not just the fact that it was Smash players, but the fact that so many of people were caught or exposed all in the same
Yeah.
day.
Holy fuck. What an event.
Yeah, like I was surprised about that because I thought to myself, okay, Smash players itself, they might be notorious for complaining that one character wasn't represented and whatnot, but at least they wouldn't go to such a downward angle like that. I was wrong. So, this is why I'm reviewing the original games with you, because I want to go back to a time when Smash Brothers wasn't known for having people lose their mind over not getting their favorite character represented. Uh,
Yeah.
there was no such thing as a Smash player that was upset that some character from Loud House was exposed or like was not even
Yeah.
like brought in the game somehow.
Yeah. So yeah, the game's name is not Smash Childs, it's called Smash Bros. So let's keep going. Um, so it had plenty of crossovers from the Nintendo franchise, and I really like that.
Yeah. Um, the original Smash Brothers game and Melee were like two of the childhood games that I played, and I owned them to some extent. Like I have the GameCube copy that I planned to Wii, and the original Smash 64 is on my Wii Virtual Console that I bought years ago.
Ooh,
But long before that, I played Smash Brothers on at my cousin's house, where we had ourselves the classic Nintendo 64. Now, back then, I had no idea how to play it properly, so I kind of lose a lot. But over time, I started to like learn more and more how to win. And it's amusing that I started playing as Pikachu back then because that was the one Pokemon character and Nintendo character I was most familiar with. And then I played as Kirby because I liked his character. And then I pretty much like
yeah.
played regularly as Mario.
My favorite was Kirby.
Yeah, he was a fun character to play as. Like, definitely has his own advantages and is great for beginners. But there are people that mean him as well, as they say.
Yeah. Or Link. You could also choose Link from The Legend of Zelda.
Yep, I enjoy playing as him too.
Yeah.
But
But
I
but
think,
it wasn't specifically a game that I played too often because I remember it. I just crashed into a friend's house and played a bit of it, but not too much. And then I remembered on that it kept on like releasing new games, and there was one specifically that you could train one of your Pokemon, for example, for the Smash Bros, and it would go insanely OP and stuff. So I remember all that. I don't know, friend.
yeah, which is kind of the reason why I prefer like the older Smash Brothers games. Like, there's so
Mhm.
much to do, but it feels like there's like so much for its own good, which is kind of weird to say because the features that you get are like plentiful, but it feels like you're never going to finish a game. It's like Donkey Kong 64 levels of too much to catch up with. I think the
Mm,
original
yeah,
Smash game itself was like too short of content. It felt more like a test run of the series, whereas Melee itself had the perfect balance. And I'd argue Brawl as well, even though Brawl gets like shat on for specific things that I think you can overcome.
yeah.
But what can be said about the
Did you
first
have
Smash game?
what? Oh, I just wanted to ask. Didn't you have like secret characters at times?
The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, four unlockable characters. They're even teased in the
Ooh.
beginning of the game, where the cutscene where you have all like the original eight characters and you have silhouettes of the four unlockables, which turn out to be the characters you unlocked once you progress through the game.
Oh, because I remember having Jigglypuff.
Yeah, she was one of the four unlockable characters, along with Ness, Captain Falcon, and Luigi.
Ooh.
The original 8 characters were Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, uh, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox, and Pikachu. I think the order might be slightly off, but you get what I mean. Like every character
Yeah.
has their own unique move set, their own like their own design and whatnot. I think Mario is the most obviously based on his appearance in Mario 64, although the character model for Smash 64 is, I think, worse than the one in Mario 64.
Yeah.
Everyone else, like based on the general appearance, like I said, like this was back when the series was like its own testing its own ground. Nintendo wasn't
Mhm.
sure if Smash Bros. Would be a successful hit. It felt more like a prototype of the game than anything.
Yeah.
And it's even quite true with the fact that there were characters that were planned to be in the game but were cut out, and so many of them were like would eventually appear in other games. Um, I think Peach,
Ooh.
Bowser were candidates, but were saved for
Ooh.
Melee. Um, Either Meowth or Mewtwo would have been playable characters, especially since Pokemon, the original movie that came out. Remember that movie?
Yeah, I think I remember it.
Yeah, they hyped up the hell out of Mewtwo. I mean, although then again, like I was like a little, like a little, I was just like a little kid back then. Like I didn't know much about it. I just saw like the reruns of the '90s show. But
Yeah.
my cousins were into Pokemon back then. They might remember Mewtwo a lot more than I do back then. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was cut out, and it definitely felt like a simpler game overall. Like apart from the graphics, the selection I feel is pretty small. Um, your average fighting game itself would have up to 20 characters, if not slightly more than that. I think Marvel vs. Capcom or regular Street Fighter, your Tekken series, any other fighting game that was either well known or very niche in the '90s had more characters than Smash Brothers.
Uh,
Now, I think obviously this was like not just Nintendo trying to test the ground, but they're also thinking about who would make sense, like choosing the more familiar faces and leaving some like the more uncommon characters. So of course, Mario, Donkey Kong, Link would be obvious candidates, whereas Ness and Captain Falcon are fairly new or not as well known, but would still make sense because of the kind of movesets that they have. Another thing that sort of like backs us up is the fact that the way some of the characters work. I mean, we have clones at times, but it felt more obvious that certain characters are clones than it would be in other games to some extent. I mean,
yeah.
due to time constraints, like Luigi was pretty much like similar to Mario, although he has a few differences here and there. Although they didn't give him his proper voice clips, they just like recycled the Mario 64 voices and just like altered the pitch.
Aw, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and the Jigglypuff was like Kirby, but without the ability to copy enemies and just put enemies to sleep, basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, like definitely film like a much simpler game overall. Um, but I don't think that's just really a bad thing because Nintendo themselves was trying to like learn how to know how to make a game like this with their familiar characters. And although it turned out to be a massive success, I mean, remember the commercial that they put in back then? I mean, we might have seen it on YouTube, but if you've seen it once, you know what it looks like.
Mm. I don't remember personally.
Big surprise of a video, I'd say.
Uh,
But overall,
Smash Bros. Yeah, Smash Bros. Is just such a friendly game. You know, you usually just played it with friends. Maybe we should make a gameplay more than talk about it
yeah,
because it
one day
looks
we should.
cool as fuck.
But
Yeah.
I think we can all. I think it'd be cooler if we got like melee or brawl at least because and people always
True.
go for ultimate, 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 ultimate.
Hmm. That one is the one that has basically all the fucking characters, right?
Yep, everyone's invited except Waluigi.
Fuck.
Wah, Waluigi rejected.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that can turn out because I would like to see if there's sort of like online rooms where we can play melee together, and make like playthroughs without Nintendo trying to copyright strike us just because we want to make our own fan and stuff.
And even if we go to Twitch, I think the same shit would happen. So,
Yeah.
stay tuned.
Don't I wouldn't hold your breath for someone to like give us $10,000 from their income just so they can say our just for us to say their names.
I can have a plastic surgery and I'll probably get more money that way.
Oh no! Please don't.
It is an investment
Oh
if you
my
think
god!
about it.
Oh, all right. Moving on.
gotta, we gotta have like the entrepreneur mind.
Yeah, but aside from all that, I think that's why you could say you could probably think of Melee as the true first game for Smash Brothers. I mean, obviously not; it's the second, but it felt like the more complete experience overall. Apart from the wider selection of characters and the much better graphics, you have more stages to play on, more representation for these characters. Um, you also have an adventure mode, a more distinct classic fighting mode, more items to choose from, and plenty of missions to participate in.
Cool.
Yep. Now, of
Did you
course,
feel like it felt more like a community game back then?
yep. Whereas the original game felt more like a kind of game you'd probably like just keep to yourself.
Uh,
I mean, even the feel of it sort of has that sort of distinct look to it. Like the original Smash Bros. Felt more arcade-like to some extent, and the music itself kind of reminds me of Pokemon or Cartoon Network for some reason. '90s Cartoon Network.
yeah.
I mean, kind of had it definitely was around a time period where we had like the '90s anime boom back then, especially with Pokemon and whatnot. Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, other examples. But
Dude, yeah.
and Melee, I think, definitely has like the more epic feel to it. I mean, the background music, I think, sells that as well. I mean, it has like that sort of big tournament feel that you're delving into. You're excited to see your characters fight against each other.
The tension with Rice.
Yeah, and even the opening is like that too. I mean, the original opening was just like Master Hand, getting out his toys and like organizing his desk to look like a stage. Whereas
Uh-huh.
the opening for Melee, it goes from a hand throwing Mario statue, and then it turns in, it comes to life in such a beautiful, beautiful animation that
Yeah.
just makes the game go from a typical Nintendo game to a masterpiece.
Legendary.
Of course. And they go even further and further with the other games. Like Brawl's opening, I think was just like, mwah. Although people definitely hate Brawl just because of plenty of reasons.
Mhm.
Smash 4's theme song is pretty good, and Ultimates I think is like very unique. But I always think of Melee's theme and Brawl's theme more, just because those have been stuck in my mind for so long.
Yeah. I don't think I have the memories to compare them, but I
I,
liked a lot the gameplay.
but I think we can say that like you can at least remember just how great it was to go in the adventure mode. I mean, you have stages that are based on
Yeah.
like each game
Yeah.
series.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was great to go from like fighting, jumping on Goombas in a Mario section to looking for the eggs, the Triforce in the Zelda section. then escaping for your life in the Metroid section, to then fighting a
Dude,
bunch of Kirby's.
it was so hard. Now I'm getting some flashbacks. I remember getting so frustrated because it was so hard.
And don't forget the bosses too. The first game just
Yeah.
had Master Hand, but Melee goes a step further, where if you play in a higher difficulty, you get to fight against Crazy Hand.
No.
I'll never forget like the spines, like the chills I got on my spine when I like heard Master Hand's evil laugh, and then at one point thinking to myself, "Holy shit, Crazy Hand is next."
Dude, we were tiny whiny kids
Yep.
in their white underwear.
Like
At,
I could still hear Master Hand going, and Crazy Hand
no.
going like,
Yeah.
and of course,
God.
Giga Bowser.
Oh, Bowser.
My God, like Bowser himself always heard I like the perfect balance between looking cute and looking cool at the same time. But hot damn, I think the Giga Bowser design is just the best Bowser we've seen by far.
Mhm.
Like regular Bowser, not that intimidating on his own, but Giga Bowser, next level, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with him not being in the Mario series because, like, not because it's going to scare kids. I mean, I don't think kids are easily that scared by Giga Bowser. I mean, he's not the kind of character that would like unintentionally scare people. He's just designed like that from the start. I mean, it's not like he's like something weird looking like Talk Man from Pac-Man World, but
Mm.
it makes him more distinct, more Smash Brothers-y. Though I will say that I am perfectly fine with like the design he got, like the big dark Bowser design from Bowser's Fury in the re-release of 3D World.
Yeah.
I will say, god damn, his mouth is huge compared to normal Bowser. But I think the other thing that makes the game more popular was the fact that we had more characters. You had, apart from the others that we saw and the ones that were brought in, we got ice climbers. We got characters like Falco, as well as Dr. Mario, Pichu, Young Link, Ganondorf. Some of them were repeats of other characters, but I think it made sense for to some extent. Like Dr. Mario would obviously have his own differences from regular Mario, and same goes for Young Link and Pichu. Ganondorf being like Captain Falcon though is just weird.
Oh.
Yeah, like he doesn't fight exactly like him, but he moves like him. But it's weird too because like Ganondorf is seen more often in the flesh than Captain Falcon was. Yet Captain Falcon is best known for that move set.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
In any case, it works out quite well. But yeah, it's just one of those Nintendo things.
Nintendo lore.
Yep.
Oh.
Apart from all that,
Yeah.
uh, another thing that Smash Bros. Is best known for would be, well, for Melee specifically, would pretty much be like the rumors that were around in the playgrounds back then or on the internet. Now, you remember when Luigi was said to have been unlockable in Mario 64, right?
Yeah.
Well, um, before that, and after all that, but before we got the purple prizes in Mario 64 DS, there were rumors that you could unlock Toad or Sonic in Melee.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like there's a lot of surprises that Melee had already on these new stages to like the improved graphics and of course Marth and Roy from Fire Emblem. That was a surprise.
Oh.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I have to say I like those characters. I like the music that they had, and even though I'm not like a super massive Fire Emblem fan, I like the uniqueness that they provided because they weren't just your typical cartoony looking characters or semi realistic looking characters like Samus and Link.
Yeah, you get like a variety on abilities and also on style for each character. That was cool.
Yep. They felt like as if Mario's like it kind of like reminds me of Toonami once again, where Mario's like Cartoon Network, like the cool Cartoon Network side of things, not the more comedic side of it, which is fine still.
Mm-hmm.
And Fire Emblem characters, Martha Roy being like Toonami.
Mm.
There's a lot of mentions of Toonami in this episode, isn't there? But you get my point.
Mm. Mm.
Apart from all that, um, like people say that Toad is a playable character, which would make sense, but at the same time, I don't really think would work for him because like he already exists in the form of being a defense for Princess Peach. You know how she pulls out a toad from her backside. I'm not going to say anything worse than that to defend herself. And if someone tries to attack her, she uses toad to like infect an enemy because toads do have spores. I mean, they're mushrooms after all.
Yeah.
But it would be impossible for Toad to be a playable character. I just think that Nintendo doesn't see Toad as important as often as he would with Mario, Luigi, or Peach. Now, Sonic, though, I think would make much more sense because this was from a time period when Nintendo was going third party, no longer doing their consoles after the Dreamcast failed or was like shut down. I don't want to say it failed. I mean, it didn't really fail. And yeah, like this was like around the time we got ourselves the GameCube exclusive remakes of Sonic Adventure. And on top of that, the rivalry between Nintendo and Sega was no more. But it would have been kind of cool to see them, but I don't think that was quite possible at the time because of the fact that they weren't they had very limited time restraints. I know the directors of the Smash series. I don't know if Sakurai was there in 2001 or not. Wanted to have Sonic in the game, but I'm pretty sure an exec did, but they couldn't do it in time.
Yeah.
Eventually, he would make an appearance in Brawl.
There's like a lot to talk about when you think about all the games and all that went through.
Yep. Um, and that's just we're talking about the first two games, which is holy God, Mother of God, it's a lot. But yeah, of course, those rumors turned out to be false. But I do remember reading somewhere that they considered adding in James Bond in the game.
It spawned.
Yeah. Now, at one point in the Nintendo 64 series of games, GoldenEye 007 was one of the games that was exclusive on there. Very, very beloved game developed by Rare. And from seeing the gameplay reviews, for good reason. Now, I myself am not a big James Bond fan because I don't know much about the series, though I do want to learn more about James Bond. But I do enjoy the game from what I've seen from the gameplay trailers and the videos as well. The thing is, though, is that how would James Bond exactly work for Smash Brothers?
Yeah, I don't think so. You remember? Well, not. I'm not sure, but wasn't it Bayonet also in the last Smash Bros?
Was
That didn't make too much sense.
wait, which character in Smash?
Bayonetta.
Oh, Bayonetta. She was a
Yeah.
third party character, but I think the thing was that like she began her life as a video game character. Um,
Uh,
they wouldn't allow characters from TV shows or movies because unless they began their life as a video game character or a mascot, then they're not going to be included. So it would make sense for Master Chief or Crash Bandicoot to be included, but not someone like James Bond or Darth Vader would be included because they're not video game characters. Sure, they have appeared in video games, but they're not. But they never began their life as video game characters. So Mario himself as a true video game character was, um, like Darth Vader and James Bond are not. Uh, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people like to do photoshops about fictional characters that aren't from Nintendo or whatever being playable characters. But apart from like ignoring the fact that Nintendo needs to reach out or someone else has to collab with them, um, don't quite count on it. I mean, like I wouldn't expect them to do like Five Nights at Freddy's Smash collab because like I don't know if the creator of the series would actually want to do that, but like it would make more sense to do Master Chief and Smash because Nintendo and Microsoft do collab, and Master Chief himself has been considered as a possibility. I mean, obviously not anymore because Sora's the last one, but uh, but Halo would be a interesting series to add nonetheless, especially since apart from the collaboration that they're doing, it'd also be a pretty good tie-in for the 20th anniversary of Xbox and the Halo series too.
Be a nice opportunity.
Yep. I mean, I'm not bitter that Sora got into the game. I mean, it makes sense. But I'm just surprised at that because Kingdom Hearts, although it was a video game, is somewhat of a Disney property. I mean, Square Enix Disney collaboration nonetheless, but it's just kind of wow. Nintendo always surprising people like that before they go back and doing something stupid like making people pay $100,000 for online passes.
Yeah.
But yeah, in spite of all that nonsense, I still love the first two Smash Brothers games immensely because they feel like the most complete experience I need. Ones that don't require me to um, think too much about just how um, desperate things are, or how much like have too much involving things like constant memes or constant like meltdowns. I just miss when we used to have stuff like less drama in the Smash community. I mean, then again, like I wasn't involved with the community to begin with. I was a more casual player, but I kind of miss when I was in like 2001 and it was like more interested just playing as Pikachu instead of just reading up the headlines thing and stuff like, oh my god, some guy like diddled a kid or holy shit, this guy spiked his controller so badly just because he got in second place. It's just one of those things about life that you don't get back anymore. But to not end on a negative note, I guess if I do have the technology and if it's possible, then expect the Justice podcast people to play Smash Bros. Melee. But until then, just be patient or whatever. I don't know. Maybe we'll play the Ninja Turtles arcade online.
Yeah. Why not?
Yep. Gotta get some more turtle power. But that's pretty much it for today's episode. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Wait, don't forget to subscribe. If you do, I'll give you a headbutt. That's Ogre for thank you.